Thanks for tuning in to As the Tire Turns podcast. Before we dive into this week's episode, I'd like to thank our sponsor, AME International. Tire professionals insist on AME. I'd also like to recognize the AACF. For over 65 years, the Automotive Aftermarket Charitable Foundation has stood by those in the automotive aftermarket industry and their families during life's toughest challenges. Since 1959, with the incredible support of industry partners, AACF has provided vital assistance to individuals and families facing financial hardship due to unforeseen circumstances, such as floods, earthquakes, storms, fires, catastrophic medical conditions, life-changing accidents, devastating fatalities, and more. AACF offers a straightforward application process and a quick turnaround time for those needing support during critical moments. Visit www.aftermarketcharity.org to access the application and learn more about how AACF can assist during times of need. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of our automotive aftermarket family. Support AACF today. And now, As the Tire Turns. We're back with another episode of As the Tire Turns podcast. Today I'm joined with Pedro Pacheco, Vice President of Operations for Latin America. Is it Vice President of Operations?
That's
Vice
right.
President Latin America Operations. Okay. So, Pedro, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you very much for the invitation.
You're very welcome. This is good, right? I did this podcast series because of my year as president of the Tire Industry Association, something to kind of document. And I met you years and years ago, prior to Kal Tire, but I think you were our first guest from Latin America. You would be, I don't know, is it proper to say Chileno?
That's right.
You're from Chile, no?
I am from Chile, from Calama.
Calama. Okay.
North of Chile.
So I was going to ask Antofagasta, but so actually Calama is, because I have been there, I've been to the mines. So Antofagasta is where maybe some of the corporate offices are.
That's right.
Near the shore, but then Calama is inland.
200 kilometers away from Antofagasta.
And higher elevation, right?
That's right, 2,300 meters more or less.
Yeah, I remember walking up a flight of stairs, and I could use a little bit of exercise, but I remember just being out of breath, right? Because the air is rather thin. So people will get altitude sickness, I think, right?
That's right. I think if you don't have the habit to be in altitude, you could a little bit, not sick, but you could feel the altitude.
Yeah, you definitely feel it. So so it's not uncommon if you're in northern Chile to be in the mining industry, right? Because copper is king, I think. Also maybe some gold mines or
Yes, but I could say in Chile, majority of the mines, it's copper mines.
Copper mines, yeah.
Copper mines.
So again, not too uncommon for people to be in mining in northern Chile, but how specifically did you get into the world of tires?
That's funny because I am mechanical engineer, and then when I started my career, I started to work in engineering projects.
Yeah.
And I was in a company called CMS, part of Codelco Group in that time, and I was doing my work for 1 year, and then for different reasons, the Codelco Group needed somebody to support them to do the tire maintenance in Radomiro Tomic. And then that was the time when they said, CMS is our part of the family, Codelco Group. And they said, okay, we need to set up this business quickly. We need a guy to do it in, let's say, 1 week. And it was really less than that. It was 24 hours.
Wow.
And they said, in that time, I was 24 years old. And then I said, who is the guy with crazy enough to do something like that in 24 hours? And they said, Pedro, he's crazy enough, to do it. And the deal was, okay, I will set up the business there for, let's say, 3 months. That was the deal. And the deal was, I will back to work in engineering again. And here we are, 25 years later.
Wow. So, and Codelco is state-owned, right? It's owned by the Chilean government?
That's right.
And it's copper, and that is, that's the big economic driver for certainly for northern Chile. Yeah.
That's right. Codelco, they have 6 big sites in Chile. It's one of the biggest mining companies in Chile, owned by the government.
Yeah. so when I was there, so Calama's the town, the large mine, is it Chuquicamata?
Yeah, Chuquicamata, yeah, that's right.
Is it the biggest? I don't know, right?
But no, in these days, in that time,
Yeah.
I think Chuquicamata always was one of the biggest copper mine in the world. But in this, they know anymore.
Yeah.
But it still is something memorable,
Yeah.
remarkable.
So I think I met you first on a visit in Colombia. Were you working in Colombia at one point in time? And
I could say yes, because it's like responsible for Kal Tire for Latin America. I visit very often Colombia, Panama.
yeah.
And then we met a couple of times there.
Yeah, for sure. So and I know now obviously you're working with Kal Tire. You oversee all of Latin America. You're from Hermosillo, Mexico now, right? So
That's right. I have been living in Mexico for the last 12 and a half years in
Yeah.
Hermosillo now.
Yeah. We have a good mutual friend, Chris Brothen.
That's right, Chris Brother.
And I he had gone down to Chile for Cal, and I guess saw kind of a bright young up and coming guy, and he loves to tell the story. And I'm going to fact check Chris a little bit here now and see how accurate it is. But did he try and hire you in a parking lot in?
That's right. That's a funny story, because I met Chris in the same time when the company where I was working in engineering side to set up the maintenance, tire maintenance. One of the companies I called in that time was Kal Tire.
Yeah.
And Chris was there. In that time, I was 24 years old, and I was running for everywhere. And we had a meeting, and Chris is a very nice guy, very good friend, and they were talking a lot, but I was busy. I said, okay, guys, we need to talk about business. We need to talk quick.
Yeah.
And then we need to resolve these points, and you need to tell me yes or not. And Chris was a little bit surprised with me. He said, okay, just tell me, yes or no. And Chris said, of course, yes. I said, okay, I'm sorry, but I am busy. I need to go back to the mine. And Chris, he ran behind me. He said, oh, please keep my business card. I'm going to follow your career. My first impression was, oh, this guy is crazy.
A little loco.
He's a little loco, because it's the first time that I met a guy,
Yeah.
and he's telling me I'm going to follow your career. And I says, okay, whatever. And
Yeah.
I put the car in any place. And that's the story how I met Chris.
Yeah, that's too funny. I'm going to ask you a question. I don't know that this is a super offensive term, but we're here at the Off the Road conference. We're in Puerto Rico, and I was gambling a little bit last night, and a couple of the guys got a little crazy, and I was talking with the dealer, and he says, the gringos are loco, right? And he says, you're a gringo? I said, yes. He says, you're not crazy, right? But he goes, the other gringos are crazy. And so I know Chris is Canadian. I know a lot of times you hear gringo, you think, Americans, but would a Canadian be called a gringo as well?
I would say yes.
Okay.
I would say yes, because for my learning from Chile, we call gringo to any person that speaks English.
Just English speaker.
Just
Okay.
English speaker, we call gringo.
I always say I try and learn something on each one of these podcasts.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my, I was thinking, I don't know if Chris would be a gringo loco or not, right?
Yeah,
So.
but in Mexico it's a little bit different, because in Mexico they call gringo to the U.S. people normally.
Yeah.
But for south of Latin America, like Chile, we call gringo to any person that speaks English.
Yeah. So in Chile, again, haven't been there. I've been to Santiago and then Antofagasta and then up into the mines. And of course it's Southern Hemisphere. So the seasons are alternate from the U.S. And I know Chris, again, I don't want to focus on Chris, but in the summertime, because he loves to ski up in Canada, he would sometimes go down, he and Bob Bennett, right, to southern Chile,
Yeah.
to ski. And so Chile and Argentina, right, they are so long.
That's right.
And so Chile has a little bit of everything. I mean, it's got I've been to Valparaiso and Vina del Mar on the coast.
Yeah.
Right? So I've been obviously Santiago, very metro, Antofagasta, small initially, and then come back bigger, nice hotels and so on, and then of course in the mining towns as well. But I've never been to southern Chile, right? And I guess is Patagonia, is that Chile or is that Argentina?
It's both. We have our Patagonia like Chile, and the Argentinian they have the Patagonia as well, part of the Patagonia.
Okay.
But I could say the south of Chile is a beautiful place. We have many lakes, many forests. I think in some time when I am there, it looks like some part of Canada.
Really?
Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, and nobody would normally think of that, you know, with Chile. So.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. South of Chile is fantastic.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I love about Chile, it's in central of Chile. In 3 hours, you could be in front of the ocean drinking a nice beer. If you drive 3.5 hours, you could be in the snow.
Yeah.
In the Andes mountain.
You have everything.
Yeah, very close.
So you mentioned drinking. I was trying to figure out how to work in. You mentioned drinking a beer, but Chile is also known for its grapes.
Yeah, that's right. We have a lot of red wine. I am a fan of the red wine. Around Santiago, you could find 100 of wineries.
Yeah. I always look on that trip out to Valparaiso and Vina del Mar. We stopped at a winery along the highway and had a nice lunch and toured and, went through the vineyard. But Veramonte is the name of it, right? Which I guess is that Green Mountain? No, is that no? It'd be Verde. So what Veramonte in English? It'd be something mountain.
Yeah. Veramonte.
Yeah, Veramonte. So anyway, I have found it like over in Europe. I'll look for the Chilean wines, and if I see Veramonte, I'll say I'll have a bottle of the Veramonte. I think that was a white wine though. I think it was a white variety, but maybe they have red there as well. I don't know.
Should be.
Yeah. Anyway. So I know one of your roles within Kal Tire is overseeing innovation.
That's right.
And it's I don't know why. We just have nicknames, and you work with Peter Nielsen, and years ago, we just started referring to Peter as Pedro Nielsen, and so we'll mention Pedro, and then I realize if it's somebody within Cal, that we'll have to clarify. Oh, we're not talking about Pedro Pacheco, we're talking about Pedro Nielsen, right? And who's Swedish, right? But he really kind of heads up the innovation center, and I know it was like a directive from Cal and from you, and but can you talk a little bit about what led Cal to? I know you have a journey to zero, and Cal's in certainly the tire business, but you've come up with some technologies to improve, health, safety, efficiencies, etc.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's my role, operational role, is by president to run the business, responsible for the business in majority of the country in Latin America. And like you said, innovation is my other area. I am responsible and working with our team in Vernon, Innovation Center. And I think this year is the year number 10. I am responsible for innovation.
Yeah.
And our focus in innovation is basically 3 main areas. The first one, and probably one of the most important, is work with try to develop and improve new or current tools to reduce the exposition of our people of one of the historical risks that our people is facing in the daily base.
Yeah.
And our second focus, tools process in our tire service, always with our focus in safety and efficiency to deliver additional value to our client.
Yeah.
And the third, it's about innovation in business model, try to change the way how we sell tire service, tire repairs, retread to our client. Just we set up, I could say, a different kind of business model 7-8 years ago with our team working with all regions. Now we spread that training to our people just with the idea to show to our client or to offer to our client different ways to receive the tire service, retread, tire repair, just to add value in their operations.
Yeah. So Peter, he will tell you, when he was in that role and starting it from new, right? There's no manual that you're just kind of saying it. But he said they started to really track incidents, right? Near misses, breakage, damage, things like that. And then once they logged that in a spreadsheet and had it kind of led you to the path as to what can we do to improve downtime or improve safety and so on. So it's been good. And then of course, last year at the mining event, we had an announcement that just came out, right? And so my company AME and we're now part of the Haltech family, right? So we had an announcement where we were partnering on KalPro to help, right? Kal is again being a good steward, right, and coming up with some things in your own operation, but if it can help the industry in general, right? But you're not in the tool business per se, and certainly, you're distributing tires, but not tools and so on. So so we've partnered on what the KalPro line of products, and so lots of buzz here, in fact, about when can we get this, when can we get that. I says it's coming. It's
and I think that is one thing that I really like, because that was a definition from our board, from our company, that even when we, like Kal Tire, we have been working in this innovation to improve safety in the people. The question internally was why we don't share this tool with other people, because in the end of the day, what we want, we are humans.
Yeah.
We want less injuries. Doesn't matter who is the company, doesn't matter the country, doesn't matter the culture. And that is really nice, because even now we are open to sell under AME.
Yeah.
I'll take this tool to even our competitor.
Sure.
It's fine for us, because in the end of the day, the objective is just one: less injury to the people and improve the exposition to the risk. In general in our industry.
And that's really what I like about this event, this OTR conference, because it's somewhat of a fraternity, right? When you're here, you're all in the tire industry, right? Doesn't necessarily matter the logo on the shirt, right? We're here for the better of the industry, share information and so on. I go back to the best example I can think of is giving a shout out to Peter and his homeland of Sweden. The engineers from Volvo, for the car maker, invented in the seatbelt, which obviously has saved tons of lives, but they chose not to patent it, so that everyone could have that technology, and at least I think that's accurate. We'll have to fact check that, but if not, it makes for a good story. But I believe that they did the same thing. They said, hey, this isn't something that should just be for us. This should be for everybody in an automobile. So
that's right. I think and I feel very happy, because in the end of the day, in the beginning, if somebody would ask me that 8 years ago, I shouldn't be agreed to share what we were working. But with the years, you understand, in the end of the day, we are humans. We protect people. And we don't want injuries. Doesn't matter if it's Kal Tire or not. If we have the tool to avoid a serious accident or reduce the exposition of people in general, we are happy to share.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like you said, it's been 10 years now. I'm 30-something years in the industry, and you said 25. And I think tires traditionally have been regarded as low technology, right? Very manual processes back in the day, and even the record keeping and logs for air pressure and tread depth everything was manual. But if you fast forward to today, and I should know this, TOMS, is that the tire operating or management system? Is that the right acronym?
That's right. TOMS is our software that we have to track and to manage all our service.
So you have that, but tires, vehicles. We had a presentation this week on autonomous, trucks and not just the super ultra class, right? They're saying now 777, right? And zero time, lost time, right? Incidents with autonomous. So our industry is really becoming technology driven. And so is there kind of anything on the forefront. Of course, that's certainly what the Kal Tire Innovation Center is working on. But just can you talk about, like, the difference from when you at 24 years old, right? What it's like being in business today.
And I could say, yes, you're right. I think I am agree. 25 years ago, in the tire business in many countries, I think I could say maybe not in the last, scale in the maintenance for mining, but know a lot of technology, know the best tools. And I think compared with where we are today, and I think probably maybe in the last 10 years, we have seen a lot of improvement.
Yeah.
And it's, I think the speed, in my personal opinion here, we will see more speed in the next year coming.
Yeah.
With all the robotic coming, with all the AI coming, with all the tools, and then I think we will see more speed, much quicker. Because even if I take our experience like Kal Tire working in innovation for 10 years, in the first, I would say, 4 years, it was a learning process for us.
Yeah.
If I take what we have done in the last 2 years compared with the 10 years, probably we have done more in 2 years than in 10 years.
In the previous, So kudos to Kal Tire for sticking with it, right? Because it's not something you get an early return on. And, just a lot of research and development and investment into to really building and developing and so on. So I always say the world keeps getting smaller and smaller, right? Because of advancements and communication. And, where I am in Florida, Disney, right? Having a parent of kids, you take them to Disney World, and you used to travel inside at Epcot, the spaceship. There's a little ride, and kind of towards the end, you see this technology where, like, I think the example was a young kid is telling somebody like in Asia about their baseball game, right? And I have lived long enough to see that is right. We have mobile devices where, you can stream with somebody from across. Of course, probably advanced by COVID, everybody now is familiar with Microsoft Teams or Zoom calls.
That's right.
And so on. So in a ways, there's lots of advancements in technology. But with you being Kal in, I always say 22. I don't know if that's the right number. How many countries does Kal operate in?
Today is 22 countries.
22 countries. So and I know the management group on the mining side is very active, and you'll go have regional meetings and so on. But can you talk about maybe somehow a mechanical engineer from Chile? Have you ever kind of had to pinch yourself and say, how did I get here, right? And traveled all over the world now.
Yes, I could say I feel very lucky. It's a great opportunity. For people that believe in God, God put me here.
Yeah.
For people that believe in universe, I think universe put me here.
Yeah.
I think it's but I feel very, very lucky, because it's a job that many professional people would like to have. And then it's great to have the opportunity to work with people in Australia, from Europe, UK, South Africa, Canada, different countries, different cultures. And all the time you are learning a lot.
Yeah.
Not just about what we do, we learn about the culture, we learn about the tradition of the countries, people. I think, we deal with that in our own home.
For sure.
To deal with our wife, with our daughter. When they deal with us, it's not easy for them as well.
Yeah.
And then it's about humans, is when we deal with different kind of culture, it's a great experience. I think we learn every single day. And in our business, even when we are the same company, in Australia, in Africa, in Canada, Latin America, South Africa, I think it's always we have something to learn from each other.
Yeah.
I think that is quite cool.
Yeah.
And it's a great experience that I really would like to other people, to the next generation coming. Today in the morning, the speaker, they were talking about that, prepare the leader for the future.
Absolutely.
We need to talk with them about what this job should means for next generations.
Yeah.
We need to prepare leaders.
Yeah.
Because it's no Kal Tire, we have more than 3,000 people in more than 20 countries.
Yeah.
In the global, we have more than 6,000 people. And opportunities, always we will see opportunity for people.
Yeah.
But I think we need to spread more to these generations what that means.
Well, and even, on the board of directors for Tire Industry Association, talk about recruitment into the tire industry, because initial thing you think changing tires, but there's so many. I mean, I've gotten to know and become friends with TJ Trum, who's an attorney, right? But he's the in-house counsel. I've met in hammering out the contract for KalPro with Kal Tire's in-house, right? So I mean, there's accounting roles, there's engineering roles, there's IT, right? And the tire industry for me is just, a lot of great salt of the earth people, very good, hardworking, but just it's been a great industry to spend my career in. So
and it's great when you can feel that we are part of something much bigger, because in the end of the day, mining, in many countries they mine copper, iron ore, different coal. The world needs these minerals.
Yeah.
We couldn't have an iPhone, a telephone without copper.
Correct.
And then it's something that we are doing something for the world.
Yeah, correct. So I only really have one other thing I was gonna talk about. Of course, you stay pretty lean, but years ago we were doing some joint visits, and we went to visit Caterpillar, and I don't know, we stopped at a rest area or something, and I just got a little snack, and it was the Nutter Butter peanut butter cookies or something, and I remember I said, "Would you like some?" You're like, "I like these, right?" So do you I don't expect you to say you sit there and eat a bunch of Nutter Butter cookies, right? But in traveling, do you not necessarily just for food, but do you have any spots, like for me? And hopefully I don't get this wrong. Is it congrio in Chile?
Congrio.
Yeah, the fish, or like the mixed grills in King Clip in South Africa, right? Or even just the calamari, the way it's prepared. But in getting to travel, right? And I always say sometimes I have to travel, and sometimes I get to travel, right?
That's right.
And this conference is one I always feel fortunate to get to go to. Because it's a lot of good people and friends, and it's always a great event. But are there, in some of your travels, places where it's on your calendar that you look forward and say, "Oh, I can't wait to go back here"?
Yeah, sure. Especially like you said, with the food, for example, in my first year working with Australian company, I had the privilege to eat new things like crocodile, for example.
Yeah.
I never thought in my life I could eat crocodile. or kangaroo, for example. That was an amazing experience. I wouldn't say it was my favorite meat, but at least I tried.
Exactly.
And then when I was working in Brazil, I ate a soup, and it's a fish that is, in Spanish we call piranha.
Like a piranha?
Piranha.
Like the one that the teeth?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a soup. It's very, very special soup. And then in Peru, for example, it's a fantastic seafood, fantastic fish.
Yeah.
Peru is one of my favorite places to go and eat very nice food.
Yeah.
In Mexico, we have a nice food across the country.
I agree.
It's amazing, really, really, really good. And in Canada, of course, I still remember one of my best memories when we had a fishing activity, and we catch fish, and the chef prepared the fish in the same day. Oh my God, that was awesome!
Amazing.
Amazing fish.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. In Canada, I remember I ate one of my biggest breakfasts that I have eaten in my life. It's something very big, fantastic, great. But it's in South Africa, I remember the steaks.
Yeah.
Wow, awesome, fantastic. Really,
and everybody,
really nice.
The biltong.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
And of course, the red wine, in Canada is awesome for red wine. US as well.
Yeah.
South Africa, Australia, fantastic.
Yeah.
And then in Europe, of course, you could find many, many different kind of red wine.
Yeah.
And in all places, always you will find very nice people.
Yeah.
Very nice people to share, and you talk about not just about our business. You have the opportunity to talk about many other things.
Yeah. In my experience, and I've traveled internationally since 1996, so it's been going almost 30 years, and I've learned that different languages, different cultures, sometimes different looking, right? Different sounding, but we all pretty much have the same basic needs and wants, right?
Yeah.
As people, and so. It's something I've done with my family, try to encourage and do some international travel, and I agree with you. I think it's key, and as the world keeps growing smaller and smaller, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's been a privilege to work and meet people internationally, yourself included.
No, thank you very much. The same. I had the same feeling, Keith.
Yeah.
It's great to meet you.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about with respect to the tire industry or off the road or?
No, I think in general, we are facing, a challenging time. Always we have opportunities.
Yeah.
And then, but the world is changing. I think it's, we have been dealing with our client for many, many years. And always it's a challenge to apply and to, offer additional value, to apply the expectation. However, today I think is that we are, dealing with additional factors in different countries in terms of the governments, in terms of the new generations,
sure,
in terms of how important it is to care the environmental, for example, is so important.
Sure.
And Kal Tire today, we have a very high commitment with, for example, with recycling, tire recycling, and it's one thing that I really like about Kal Tire. When we think like company, something is right to do it and to add value in our client, and the consequence is going to be help the planet, Kal Tire is just, we do it.
We have to do it.
We have to do it. And then the message should be to the mining company, to our client, just do the right.
Yeah.
Do the right. In recycling, for example, it's our plant is the real circular economy. Is the real, we cut the tire, we put in a reactor, we get steel, carbon, and oil, and we send back this product to produce new product.
Yeah.
But it's in some countries.
Is that in Chile?
In Chile.
In northern, yeah.
Chile.
So I know Chris brought Bennett. They went down and one of Chris's mentors and friends, Carlos Zuniga, very proud, right?
Yeah.
Of the, like you said, the recircle, right? And their circular economy. So, that's certainly important.
Yeah, and then just a message to our client for mining companies is not just apply the law, is do the right.
Yeah.
Is do the right, and there are many ways to recycling a tire, and just put your hand in your heart and see if you are doing the right thing for the planet, the right thing for the next generation.
Yeah.
We need to leave a better planet to the next generations.
Yeah, for sure. There's a gentleman, Harvey Brodsky, I don't know if you know that name or not, but he used to manage the Tire Retread Information Bureau, and then he had another Retread Tire Association. But he loved to say there's never a right time to do the wrong thing, and there's never a wrong time to do the right thing.
Yeah,
so
that's a nice expression.
It's true. To your point, just kind of do the right thing. So, all right. Well,
okay.
I appreciate your time very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
And that's another episode of As the Tire Turns podcast. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of As the Tire Turns podcast.